In a story from the Esports Observer, at the Six Invitational, Rainbow Six Siege's annual championship event, developer Ubisoft announced plans to overhaul the game's esports structure, moving it to a regional model. The game's four major regions, Asia, Pacific, Europe, Latin America, and North America, will each operate on a unique structure, each with its own organizing partners. While these regional systems will operate separately from one another, they will still feed into a global structure. Each yearly season will be separated into four quarters, with the first three referred to as stages. These stages will each conclude with a major in which the top four teams from each region will compete against one another in an international tournament. During the fourth quarter, each region will operate its regional finals and relegations for its divisions, qualifying top teams for the Six Invitational and promoting new teams into the pro structure. Qualification for the Six Invitational will also involve a year-long point system designed to reward consistent performance throughout the season. Ubisoft has contracted ESL to operate all Asia-Pacific programs and events. Ubisoft will co-produce Europe's competitions and events with Faceit and Live Nation. Latin America and North America will be owned and operated by Ubisoft itself, and while the Six Invitational will remain in Canada, the majors will continue to rotate through the major regions. I think Ubisoft is doing a good move here. They're taking some of the better aspects of what other esports leagues are doing, right? The regional system is pretty popular amongst uh, games like League of Legends, Overwatch, like these kinds of two of the more popular esports titles. But the thing that gets me is that they're also doing something that I haven't seen in a long time and something that has been phased out because of the long for franchising. And this is the relegation and promotion tournaments. That I think they may need to sort of sort out, and this may be a growing pain. The relegation system has proven that a lot of teams don't want to sink a lot of money into major esports titles because fear of maybe their team getting relegated, right? Let's say you're Fnatic or TSM, Cloud9, I mean these really big organizations, and let's say you put a team into the Rainbow Six major leagues. Your team does poorly maybe on the fourth quarter. They may do poorly or they may do poorly throughout the season because you're trying a new roster. Well, if Cloud9 gets eliminated, they either have to reinvest money into another team to participate or buy out another team, or they just may just drop out of the whole region altogether. The relegation system does have its benefits. I mean, you do kind of get the elitist approach of the best competition will always be there in theory, right? As long as Ubisoft enforces like specific buyout laws and trading laws and contract laws and all this kind of stuff, and they regulate those sort of things, then in theory you get the highest level of competition. On the other hand, you may get the issue where a lot of teams are not willing to sign maybe rookie players or newer players in fear of getting relegated that season, right? Because when you sign on rookie players, you have a chance that the team may not mesh together. This player may not be as good as they thought they were, and even it might not just be trying to sign one rookie player. Some teams like to try out brand new rosters. I mean, you see it constantly in the LCS, in the Overwatch. Imagine if a team like Washington Justice or the Vancouver Titans from Overwatch the League, they tried out new rosters, they finished last, and they were gone. They were eliminated, right? These teams don't have time to grow and develop. Yes, you can argue that since it's a yearly season with four stages, if you can't grow and develop in a year, maybe you're not really meant to be a team together. But I mean, some of the best teams in a lot of esports took time to gel, and I mean, not everybody has the pieces their first go, right? Cloud9 may not recruit all five players that may work well together. They might recruit two or three pieces. I mean, you can see currently right now in their League of Legends roster. Last year, they didn't have all the pieces, and they weren't, they were a finalist team, but they were placing second place always. Now, this year, in the last spring, they recruited players like Vulcan and Sven, and now all the players and all the teams, all the players kind of fit together, even with Blabber, fitting together in this team, and they actually won the spring split. If you imagine that team may have gotten relegated, the pieces wouldn't fit together, then your favorite organization, Cloud9, may not be in the LCS. And I think that's a lot of issues that a lot of companies will have when trying to invest in a team. You have to make it worthwhile for organizations to invest in the teams, right? If you don't make it worthwhile and you have the threat of their organization being dropped out of the whole competition altogether in a year, you may not attract the biggest organizations or the best organizations. That's my kind of take on this whole regional structure. But I'd like to see where it goes. I definitely am going to watch it for a year or two. I want to see if Ubisoft will grow and learn. I'm really excited for the different broadcasting. I think ESL does a good job where they broadcast in a bunch of different games like Counter Strike and such. I think Face It and Live Nation do a really good job, and I think we're going to have a lot of diversity when it comes to the broadcast. What you may watch in North America and Latin America, it may be kind of different than what you watch in Europe and the Asia Pacific regions. The caster personalities, the skits, or however they choose to do their death analysis, all this kind of stuff. I like that Ubisoft kind of has a hand in every region, so they can kind of normalize and make sure that there's some consistency throughout the regions. But I also like how they're contracting professional organizations to help them create the structure, probably create the broadcast, and create the leagues as well. I think it's very smart by Ubisoft, and I think they're learning from their peers. Our last story comes from Jinx TV, and you may have already heard of it, but Ninja and Shroud are free to return to Twitch after Mixer joins Facebook Gaming. Microsoft has announced that Mixer is to be shut down and will join together with Facebook Gaming in a move meant to save Microsoft's vision of a cloud-based gaming service that can quote-unquote reach billions. The move has opened up the possibility of previously famous Twitch stars Ninja and Shroud to make a surprising return to Twitch mere months after signing multi-million-dollar deals with Microsoft's platform. Rumored to be anywhere from 30 million to 20 million. The announcement has caught the gaming world by surprise, and Microsoft are wasting no time closing down Mixer, explaining that starting on July 22nd, all Mixer sites and apps will redirect users to Facebook Gaming. Whether the contract buyouts are true, Mixer will have to go down as a colossal failure. Microsoft had attempted to kickstart their moribund streaming platform with high-profile signings, and their move for Ninja and Shroud, the streaming's biggest stars, back in August of 2019, was a signal of intent. However, it failed to bring viewers over, with Ninja and Shroud receiving a fraction of the viewers they had received on Twitch. I'm not surprised necessarily that Mixer shut down. I am surprised at how quick they were to shut down. Citing that, they kind of recently did sign Shroud and Ninja, I think August of last year, so almost a year ago now, and they were still unable to get enough revenue, make enough revenue through these really big streamers. There's a couple other streamers that moved to Mixer over the time. I think King Golfian was one of them. Been a couple other streamers. The fact that they weren't able to secure revenue isn't that alarming, but I think it's just safe to say that a lot of people that were on Twitch, they don't want to really move from there because Twitch has kind of become the YouTube of streaming platforms. Like nobody goes when you go to watch a video, you type in YouTube. You don't type in Vimeo or anything like that, right? People will say, "Oh, look at this video on YouTube." I think that's kind of become the same vocabulary. It's, "Oh, look at this stream on Twitch." Look at this streamer. It's like, "Oh, he streams on Twitch, Twitch, Twitch." I think Mixer did a really poor job of advertising. I didn't really see their ads on, any Google ads. I didn't really see their ads on YouTube, and obviously they're direct competitors with YouTube Gaming, Facebook Gaming, and obviously Twitch in of itself. So I think just Mixer's advertising is something to be lacked. I never really heard about the Ninja and Shroud signings after they were signed. It made really big news initially with all the sort of esports sites and news sites kind of covering it. But after that, you never really got ads of Ninja. I never really saw any ads for Ninja. I never really saw any ads for Shroud. So I think that's kind of where they may have messed up on. Microsoft has kind of messed up on that. And although it was a good attempt to kind of take some of the market share and try to get in on this whole streaming business, I think if you want to be a serious competitor to someone like Twitch, you have to make really big moves and you have to advertise. They did one part. They did make really big moves, right? They essentially took away two of Twitch's biggest stars. It's the fact of the matter is that there were plenty of people ready to step in to their shoes, right? You have streamers like XQC, Yasuo, Pokimane, these Tyler One, Dr. Disrespect, Cloaksy, all these kinds of guys, and they're all in different games, and they're all averaging like 20 to 30,000 viewers, right? Now, that may not necessarily be Shroud and Ninja numbers, but if you have two streamers maybe gathering 60,000 to 70,000 viewers each of them, but then you have 10 other streamers that are gathering 30,000 streamers, you're gonna put your money on the 10 streamers that are getting 30,000 viewers. And the fallout from both Shroud and Ninja's channels is that they were getting 1/3, right? These guys were pulling in 70,000 to 100,000. So if only 1/3 of the viewership is going over, there's an extra 60,000 to 70,000 people that don't want to switch over to Mixer that now have time to invest into other Twitch streams, right? I feel like a lot of Twitch viewers like to look at the games rather than the actual streamers, right? I mean, obviously, if you're a sub, then you really enjoy the streamer specifically. But I think a lot of viewers come from just watching the game that they play, right? Right now, Valorant is pretty big. I mean, you look at it even as chess, right? Chess is the example where they actually like the streamer maybe more than the game. But even in that sense, I think a lot of the Twitch viewers kind of populate around, oh, who's the top streamer for Warzone, or who's the top streamer for Valorant and stuff like this, and then they get attached to the kind of personalities. I think it's really hard to move viewers of from a platform like Twitch, because Twitch has kind of become the synonymous word. It's kind of like Google, right? Where it's everybody says, "Hey, Google this or Google that," or it's even like YouTube, where it's kind of like, when, like I mentioned earlier, when you go watch a video, it's like, "Hey, look at this video I saw on YouTube." Nobody ever says, "Look at this video I saw on Vimeo." And nobody's ever gonna say, look at this streamer I saw on Mixer." Everybody's like, "Look at this streamer, look at this funny guy on Twitch, look at this crazy play on Twitch, look at this Twitch clip, look at the," I mean, it goes on and on. Um, Unfortunate, I was hoping that Twitch would they would light a fire under their, just to kind of improve their services and improve how they go about their streaming services and how they treat content creators and stuff. But if more streaming platforms go down, then Twitch has nothing to worry about, and I think that may be in the long run a bad thing.
Esports Business Podcast is brought to you by Vite Ramen. Vite Ramen is the world's first nutritionally complete, high-protein, instant ramen with 27 vitamins and minerals. The company was started by twins with a clinical nutrition degree and Michelin star restaurant experience. One packet has as much protein as a 4-ounce ribeye steak and 7 times as much heart-healthy fiber as a regular ramen. Try Vite Ramen today at viteramen.com. That's VITE ramen.com. We welcome back somebody that was on our early episodes of the Esports Business Podcast, Nicholas Smith, aka High King Royale. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing good amongst this panic and protesting. It's nice, right? Esports is in a good space right now, and we want to talk about what you're doing with esports. So what have you been up to since the last episode you were on?
So since the last episode I was on, I was still running with Workhorse, which was my company, and what we did is event planning and just online tournaments per se. And what I did from then is I was approached by an old friend of mine to run an esports program for educational purposes for his program, the Student Athlete Achievement Program. And through that, I merged Workhorse into the Youth and Education and Sports Foundation, and now I am the Executive Director of Esports.
Okay, so Executive Director of Esports. Do you think that kind of falls into something you've done before? I mean, a lot of these are sort of higher roles, like a lot of people are kind of thrust into. I remember in your last episode you were with us, you were already doing a lot of that kind of work initially for other organizations. So is this kind of something, that's, in your element?
Yeah, it is for sure something I prefer to do and I enjoy doing, because while it took me a while to get to this position, like I started from the ground up. I started as a player, then I moved my way to a coach, then a manager of a team, then a general manager, then, just constantly putting my time in and constantly just challenge myself with new obstacles, with new objectives, really helped me learn different tactics for different situations and such. Like now that I'm in the position I'm in, I can use all the experience I've gained from my past to help mold the future, as well as take in outside influence as well and see what other people are doing right, and try to incorporate that as well. So I am very comfortable, I'm very excited, and I am ready for this whole event to get started.
So you mentioned student athletes. Would the student athletes you'd be working with are essentially student esport athletes in this sense? Are they looking to apply to colleges that provide esports scholarships? Games for like Overwatch, League, Apex Legends, Fortnite. I mean all this kind of stuff, right? Are you kind of working in that division, or are you also working with general football student athletes and soccer and baseball and all this kind of stuff?
Right. So, for me per se, in the esports division, I am dealing mostly with students who are interested in becoming esports athletes. So what we're doing with them is just building out an entire program so that they can gain more practice, more scrimmage, more in-game knowledge, more coaching, and so that they can actually put all those skills together and become a very valuable recruit, so that when they go apply to colleges, they have people with hundreds of hours experiences, dozens of hours of coaching time. uh, they got analysis of their past 30 days of performances. Things like that show that students are very professional in what they're doing. They're very serious about it, and they want to take their career to the next level. And the best way to do it, honestly, is to go into the esports academy teams for colleges, because you, depending on your skill level and what you bring to the table in the school you apply to, you can receive very big or very modest scholarships that can help you, pay for your tuition. And if you just follow this train of thought, that you practice very hard in your high school years and you get recruited into the college levels, you get your dorm paid for, essentially, you get food, you get a training studio, you get computers. Like, you actually get a team environment, a team house that we have not had in esports for a very long time. So helping these kids become the most valuable player is really important to me, so that I can really help them get further in their career, so it doesn't take them as long as it took me to get where I am.
So when you merged your division of High King Royale, did the youth education and sports organization already have an esports division ready to go, or were you the kind of the one that said, "Hey, let's create this. I have this prior background experience. Like, let's do this. Let's do the same thing we're doing for athletes, but let's do it for esports
Mhm.
athletes." Was that kind of like the whole pitch that you kind of had?
Yeah, so basically I got in touch with, or Coach Emery, Emery is the CEO of Youth and Education and Sports, but he reached out to me and he saw like all the YouTube stuff I was doing and all the esports posts I was making, and he was interested in reconnecting and trying to see if I would be interested in making an esports program for him on his terms. He is very little experience in esports. The only thing he has is, just the news articles and YouTube videos I've sent him. But like, yeah, he acknowledges that like this is my baby kind of. So like, he's more of the supportive role. So he just wants to make sure I have what I need. He chips in with great ideas. He can really he has a lot of great connections in the education sector. Like, he's just a really great guy, and just having him on the team just makes me feel more comfortable. So I'm really happy that he was there for me.
So, I mean, what kind of teams are you, creating? What type of colleges are you working with? Are you working with like other teams and organizations, like in the East
Hmm.
Coast,
Yeah.
West Coast? Like, how far do you guys span? Like, where does it kind of all, go?
So right now we are limited to Tennessee and Georgia, but we will be expanding to other states in the South in the coming months and years. And what our demographic is, it's middle to high school students. That's our primary one, and that in the states and in the different college areas and in the different counties. Because what we're trying to do is touch into a lot of the county school systems, so that we can reach a bigger audience in there and we can get more support locally for not only us but for their students. So we're going to be able to tap into a bunch of different states and a bunch of different counties to build up like a bunch of different communities that can come together, where it's just like, in our competitions and what we do, it's a competition, and it's represent your state, represent your school. So that's the kind of thing we do for students, where it's just like we want to get the local communities involved, because that's just a huge win when you have people from the nearby deli or the nearby like grocery store like kind of recognize you just because they saw you play on your team's Twitch. That's kind of cool. So we really work with the local scene and make sure that we try to involve as many people as possible, because this is a growing thing, and especially with COVID, like, it's just become an online world now. So providing this service is something that we can all get on board with and everybody can participate in.
So we've had other guests on the show that have worked with like youth, middle school, high school, and trying to
Hmm.
give them a background in esports. And we usually ask this question to all of them: how is it convincing parents and or convincing, guardians that this is the same program as like a football scholarship, but these kids, your child is really good at video games. Like he's really good at esports. He's like you'd have to equate him to like the NCAA level of a football player, right? Or and something like that. How do you go
Something
about
similar.
yeah, how do you go about convincing like
My
parents?
my personal choice for when I am talking to parents, whether it's one on one or in groups, is that I hit them with facts. I hit them with the facts that esports has brought in over $1 billion in revenue, and the majority of that is through prize payouts. There are streamers who are professionals, esports players who have tens of thousands of people watching them. They're playing in tournaments, winning tens of thousands of dollars, getting sponsorship deals, getting like event invites, like becoming celebrities in their own fashion. You let them know that esports is continuing to grow in the college system and that more and more colleges are getting on board, especially now more than ever because more resources are being diverted to online infrastructure. You just let them know that their child is very talented and with the right guidance, similar to that of a professional athlete or an up and coming athlete, can be molded and crafted into a very strong, independent, and honorable student athlete. So it's about focusing on what the future can hold for their child, but also reassuring them what you're doing in the present is going to have those long-term effects that can really boost their career or boost their personality or their character.
So you
S-
mentioned, you work with different kinds of games. You have coaches and stuff like that. What's
mhm.
the repertoire of games that you're working with? Is it the kind of the standard League of Legends, Overwatch? Do you guys have some like fighting game divisions? Like how does it go right now?
Yeah, so right now, I started with trying to do a little tournament, a weekly, monthly tournament. And then like I picked a couple games. I picked Street Fighter, I picked Dragon Ball Fighter Z, I picked FIFA, Madden, and a couple other games like Mobile Legends. And then as I was building that out, I realized like how much more I can dive into this because if can make this thing a weekly thing, I can really get into like the nitty gritty and bring on coaches and professionals and have their opinions on how to build this out and what they should focus on. So yeah, and it's been pretty difficult because like there are a bunch of games, and for sure we will be adding games, team games such as Valorant, Overwatch, um, I want to say Dota 2, but anyway, yeah, so we're gonna be growing even more, but right now I'm only going into games that I have connections in so that I can provide a better, program for the student. So like if you're listening and you have a lot of experience coaching and in-game knowledge on certain games and you would be interested in helping develop a program to help middle and high school students further themselves, let me know,
So in terms of support structure, you mentioned that you're kind of directing this. This is your kind of passion
baby.
project, baby, that kind of thing. How does
Yeah.
it how has the support been in for in terms of like yeah I want to host these weeklies or I want to host these monthlies? Has it been mostly positive? What are the difficulties that you kind of face when hosting these kinds of tournaments? Is it like a player based issue? Is it an internet issue? Like sometimes hosting these kinds of tournaments can be super
Mhm.
strenuous on the ISPs. Like, where have some of the
So
pitfalls been,
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
stuff like that?
So I think what we should do to answer that is go into more in depth on some of the operations, if you don't mind.
No, that's fine. Go in
All
depth if
right,
you need to.
so what we're doing is I'm building out the tournament stuff and everything I'm talking about was being built under the Southern Skillshot Esports brand, and that is under Youth and Education. I feel really bad about mentioning this so late in the episode, but it's okay. So what we're doing is we have three stages. We have first stage, second stage, third stage. First stage is our training camps, which is what we're working on now with those weekly schedules and training seminars and all that stuff. And from there, we have our qualifiers. That is our 8-week tournament series that is set up in a Swiss style. In that, people, from the program in the training camp will be brought into the qualifiers and compete for 8 weeks. And then the people with the most points qualify for the majors that happen in Atlanta. So like it all builds into each other. So we have the Southern Skillshot Training Camp, Southern Skillshot Qualifiers, and the Southern Skillshot Majors. And so, now that we're kind of like all together here, could you repeat the question?
So just like I mentioned, what are some of the? I guess you've already developed the structure for it, but I was asking, what are some kind of
Like the challenges?
the challenges, pitfalls, like I
Okay,
mentioned,
yeah.
is it player based? So you guys are in like Tennessee and Georgia, and which are
Um,
not known to be the most esport heavy states, right? I mean, I'm not
yeah.
I'm not trying to I'm not trying to throw any shade or anything like that, but I know
No, it's
California, Washington, like I know those states kind of have their esports really highly known out there. So how is it in Tennessee and Georgia, these kinds of states, bringing
so
esports there?
that's the funny thing because in Georgia and the Atlanta area, it's pretty big, or it's moderately big, I should say, because uh Atlanta's a very popular hub, and we have DreamHack that comes here. We have the Call of Duty World League. We have FIFA. We have our Atlanta United has their own EMLB player here. Like we have a lot of stuff in Atlanta, like a lot, and it's growing very big. But then we get into where I am, and that's in the Tennessee area, where since it's not really a banjo, people aren't that interested in it. So, what the challenges are is just that because I know when I was growing up, no one was able to reach me in my in what I was doing in gaming. So, what my challenge is actually getting into these other areas, these other counties, these other districts that just don't have that much, and just reaching out to them, getting involved in their local school system, and just trying to get on newsletters to let let them know what we're doing, and that if you want to be a part of this, you can. All you need is a pretty basic internet connection, and you already play video games, so that's half of it. So the challenge really is just for me personally, I found the biggest challenge is social media and actually having people on board or doing it yourself where you're just constantly putting in new posts, you're making announcements, you're sending out invites to your groups, you're staying up with all the trends. Like to me, that's been a more difficult part because it's just so important that you don't want to half butt it. So it's just difficult for me to actually get on board with that. And then honestly, the other difficult thing I have, which maybe some of y'all can relate to, is I have a really hard time actually just sitting there and staying focused to get the work done. So not only am I doing this program for the kids, I'm doing it for myself too, because I'm structuring out my own days so that I can, get this done in a proper way.
Oh yeah, having multiple responsibilities. I mentioned, me and we do the esports business podcast. I work
Hmm.
a 40-hour week job. I know you work a
Yep.
couple jobs. I mean, it's definitely hard to kind of get time to
Yeah.
put into stuff like whatever your passion is in esports, right? It's definitely hard to try to get time into it if it's not your full time job, right?
Right. And like, while I do get payments, it's just like I'm a man who really likes money. So I work a lot. And that's just a personal preference too, though. Like I just enjoy being able to provide for my family in that. And this Southern Skill Shot thing is one of my ways to provide for my family. And once we really start kicking it off with cities and governments, officials and entities and just local communities and companies, like I'll be able to quit those other two jobs and be able to do this all on my own and support my family while I'm just in my pajamas working.
Hmm. So, just because we're in the current climate, what kind of adaptations have you had to make in terms of, with coronavirus and these protests and things like that? How have you kind of been shifting your structure for your division in the youth education and sports Inc. Like, how have you had to structure your online like, are these all online qualifiers now? Like,
Yeah.
do you have to rely
So
on net code from certain fighting games? Like, obviously that can be kind of an issue. Internet connections between two
yeah,
individuals, like
that's
stuff like
always something people love to complain about is the
yeah,
lag.
lag. I mean, you're gonna have
Lag.
yeah. So
Yeah, but like
how have you guys
so what we
How have you
do.
guys adapted? Yeah, essentially.
So what we do is for When students enroll into the SAAP, the Student Athlete Achievement Program, they will be enrolled into a website called Canvas, which has all of our announcements and our main course information on there, as well as they will get a subscription for Microsoft Office 365 Basic, and from there they will have access to Microsoft Teams. And through those two elements, what we plan on doing is having that be one of our main hubs to track progress, to track communications, and to track just student involvement. Because one thing that we are trying to do is teach discipline. And one of the things you got to do if you're disciplined is actually do the work and then record that you did it and record, your findings and what you learned or what you did. So having that is going to be where a lot of students are doing interactings online, as well as we also have our Discord that is functioning very soon once I release the actual marketing program. But also from there in the Discord, we will have more online connectivity. We will have classrooms set up for seminars and guest speaks. We will have volunteers from local schools, who are coaches and stuff, or just administrators that will actually like come and talk. And if a student just needs someone to talk to because they miss that from being out of school, that is a real service and that's a real thing that happens. So whether you want to just talk esports, whether you want to talk about your practice and analyzing videos, or whether you just want to talk, like I want to make sure that there's someone there for you so we can build together.
You mentioned one of the difficulties is kind of being on the social media track. Does that kind of lead into how do you work with advertising this kind of program? Are you pairing up with local schools in Georgia and Tennessee? Are you going to high schools? Are you going to like throwing flyers up in colleges? Like how old school or new school are you going with this kind of advertising route?
So basically, we're doing it new school until we have enough people to do it old school. So what I mean by that is, we'll be focusing on more online stuff like evites and stuff on meetups.com and just stuff like that. Just getting the word out there for when we do have these things. But like since with COVID and everything, I can't do a lot of speaking gigs like I used to. It's going to be more about getting into video production and recording videos and little 5-minute infographics that we can put out there on YouTubes and Instagrams and stuff to keep these students involved and updated. But once we actually have people involved, we can have foot soldiers who can actually go to the colleges, who can go to the meeting areas or food distribution centers, or just wherever you volunteer, we can have people there and also spread our word around, for the people we're providing services to. Just spread the word. It's like, hey, if you're interested in what we're doing, here's our information and check us out. You can check us out at youtheducationandsports.org. So we just want to get as many people involved, and I believe that just building a nice, healthy, and supportive community from the grassroots is going to be the most important thing we can do.
Yeah, you care about the kids a lot, obviously. If anybody hasn't figured that out yet. Does that kind of come from where does that come from? Does it come from like a kind of where like me, growing up, I don't want to carbon date us or anything like that, but there wasn't really any esports programs for us, right? Accessibility has been a big issue. Was that kind of like does that struggle kind of lead you into I really want to do stuff for kids like this. I really want to make a program for them because there was nothing for me.
That's exactly it right there. Because like I've been in esports. This is my 14th year in esports, and I just now got the job I want. That's a long time, man. And growing up, like esports was just so new that there wasn't much structure. Like the most structure I had is going on to game battles and checking my ranks and going on to UMG, and just like that was it. Like that's what we had. And there was a lot of shady orgs around that at the time. They see orgs like Straight Rippin' and Fnatic and Cloud9 and Total Boss. Like you got all of them, and they're like, oh man, we can get in on this action. And then they're not of the best characters, so people get ripped off, and that's what's happened to me a lot. And it's just like it has just taken me so long to get to where I am. It's just like if I just had the guidance to stay in school and actually worked on my grades more and actually focused on this and actually developed my skills doing this, like I just feel like I would have been so much further ahead by now. And what I want is just for other people who really want to get into esports or may not even know they want to get into esports. Like it is a very broad spectrum of what we do. That, if you find a passion for this and you love video games and you want to do something with that, it is there for you and you can do it with proper guidance and proper education. And with now more YouTube videos, more smaller and medium-sized organizations, always looking for people who are interested in work so you can develop your own craft. Like there are a lot of ways to get involved in this, and I just want to work at the closest level with the students because like that's just when you're going to hit them the most is when they have some kind of mentor they can look up to and kind of relate to, because like my story growing up is probably similar to a bunch of theirs. So, just having someone that's quote unquote made it, talk to them about, the struggles that I faced and how I want them to, not face those. I think it really builds a lot of good connections because that's a lot of stuff that people can relate to. And it doesn't even have to be about esports if we're honest. Like maybe you're a guy and you were really interested in ballet, but your parents didn't really approve of it. Like, I want it affects everybody, having support in your life to achieve the things you want to achieve. So just I want to build up these students, like their be self-encouraging, be positive about their attitude, and really just keep their head to the ground and eyes forward so they know where they're going and what they have to do.
Well, we can tell you're very passionate, Nicholas, or Hiking Royale. If you have anything, Royale. If you have anything to plug, what's kind of happening in your sector, what's kind of happening with the Youth Education and Sports Inc. You got qualifiers, plug everything right now. Be shameless as possible because that's what we're all about here.
Hey, man, I lost my shame back in 2013, so we're good. All right, so you can follow me on Hiking Royal on Twitter, but I'm not really on it, so I don't know why I plugged it. But really, just check out our website at youtheducationandsports.org. From there, in the next month, we will have all of our links so we can get you into our Facebook group, so that we can get you into our Discord group and get you into the program too. Because while some of our activities do cost money, simple enrollment is very cheap, and I'm sure once enrollment increases, we can offer a lot more services for free. So, what we're going to be starting in the next couple of weeks, we will be starting our training camp division. That will be an 8-week program in which we will have different games available for choosing. So you will sign up, you'll register for that. You will get your weekly course or your weekly schedule. You complete that. It's 20 hours. You knock it out, 4 hours a day. And then the next week you get it. And then all that at the end of it, you have 200 hours of training camp experience. And then so that's one of the main things that we try to focus on. It's like if you do our programs consistently, by the time if you're a freshman and by the time you hit senior level, as well as the time you put in with maybe your own organization as well, like you've got 2,000 probably hours of scrimmage experience by that point. So our program's really aimed at doing that, and with our qualifiers, that will be announced more later. Because of the COVID thing, I've had to cancel the majors that I had planned. So we're going to restructure the qualifiers in a better way so that we can get more people involved and make it a lot quicker. But with that, we're going to need more people. So like I said, check us out on Youth and Education Sports. And my last plug is if you are interested in becoming a part of this, while we are offering our services to only in the South, if you want to be a member of our team and help these students further their own education, please feel free to contact me at highkingroyal@gmail.com. I am always available. So, and what we need are coaches for games. What we also need are community members and moderators. I need people who are nice, caring, and compassionate to bring these kids into our fold and give them that good, warm welcome and keep a conversation active and just keep the Discord alive. So if you got ideas for, game nights or movie nights and you really want a place to really grow and just try to further yourself, just let me know. And if you're interested in this program and you want to learn more about it, just email me, because this is something that can grow very large. And with our limited amount of employees, it is taking a while. So the more people I have on the team, the faster I can put out this product and make sure that it is a very high quality product for you. So please, if you're interested, let me know. And if you'd like more information about a program, please just visit our website.
Yeah, honestly, guys, go check them out. Nicholas, it's been great having you on. We hope to have you on again, maybe in another 6 months, maybe in a year, and we'll hear a lot more about it. Honestly, it's been amazing having you on.
It's been really great being back. I'm just glad to talk to somebody, and you asked some really great questions, so I always appreciate that.
Make sure to check back every week for more episodes. If you have a moment to subscribe to the pod on iTunes and leave us a 5-star review or offer us some feedback, we'd greatly appreciate it. We'll also be reading reviews live on the show from this point forward. We love positivity, but we also want to make the show the best it can be. We've also put links to our Discord, Twitter, Facebook, and website in a shortened link in the show post. We appreciate you listening. Stay gold, everyone.